6:33 p.m. Up first, we're going to have public comment. First on the list is the Director of Wellness and Prevention. Speak to us.
Good evening, everyone. This is for the embarrassed short people in the room. My name is Dustin Brellinger. I am the Interim Director of Strategy for Wellness and Prevention. I'm here on an interim basis to help UConn think about wellness on campus in a better and different way. So trying to think about things differently. Specifically tonight, I'm representing the UConn Alcohol and Other Drugs Coalition, which is part of Wellness and Prevention on campus. I'm representing them because my schedule worked out perfect, more than because I'm the best speaker of the group. And so I'm going to share some information about some things that we're doing with alcohol and other drugs and the coalition that has been created. If you have not heard of the coalition, it's a group of participating organizations from UConn, so it can be any department on campus that wants to participate in order to help students understand their use of alcohol and drugs and how to reduce those risks and put themselves in a healthier and well position. If we look at what the coalition specifically does, their mission is to help create an environment where students are thriving, connected on a campus that's and provides potential for every student. Specifically, we want to create a continuum of connectedness and engagement on campus to support student well-being, and students have the best advantage point to make this happen. So there's something that we're asking students to do. Basically what that means is that I'm 50 years old. I know I look like I'm 25. I've been using my... Yeah, I know that. Anyway, I know that I'm old. I don't know the language that you use. I don't know what works and what makes sense to young people. And so what makes more sense in anyone that's working with strategy is to ask those people to help, to get them involved and help them solve problems on their own. And so one of the ways that some of you may be familiar with doing this, and one of the ways that we want to do it is through a case competition. And so next week we are announcing publicly to all students the opportunity to win some money, which is always good. But even better is to help change the direction of health and wellness on this campus and start making a mark on UConn's future. And so one of the things that we are doing is creating this case competition with the support and the help of OPIM. OPIM Innovate is through the school business, and they have kind of helped us create a core case study that we are going to ask students to solve. We're going to ask 15 teams to basically work on this case study, and I think it's the top 3 teams all receive money, which is always a blessing in disguise. The way the event is going to work is to try to include all students. Next week you're going to get an email. That email is going to basically indicate to you that the case competition is open. The only thing the students have to do to begin with is submit an idea, and an idea can be just a couple sentences long. We're then going to post all those ideas on UContact. Did I get that right? Yes, someone shake it, thank you. Head shaker right here, appreciate it. UContact, and we're going to ask students to vote on those ideas. What are the things that kind of sing with the student body, get them excited, things that they could see helping them improve their culture around AOD. Okay? Once we get to the top 15 submissions, then we're going to ask those people to actually formally submit a case study. A case study is basically looking at all of our true facts. Okay, so we're not creating anything that's not real. The true facts around UConn, around what we see as problem statements, what we see as the data, and then ask students to brainstorm what ideas they have of things that UConn can do differently within a structure of resources. Okay, so you can't say, give us each $1 million and we will fix everything in the world. Can't afford that quite yet. We'll take those case studies, and then they're going to go to our alcohol and other drugs conference that we have this semester. and there'll be panels that will then judge each of those. The winning competition obviously receives money, but then the director of student health and wellness has agreed that whatever is decided, that we will implement that for next year. And so this is a real live case study. A lot of case studies you see are all about, what ifs, but this is what will we do. And so it's kind of exciting to get students involved, to get their input to shape how UConn is going to look in the future. Okay. I don't want to take up your time by answering a lot of questions. I know that you have tons because you're all super excited about this. Everyone shake their head. Yes, thank you. Awesome, love you. In a very brotherly, nice way. Put that in there. What I did bring is these little cards here, and they have contact information. So if you have questions, then you can reach out to us individually, and we'll try to answer those questions. If you decide that you have a group that needs more information and you need someone to come and talk to them, I'd be more than happy to do it, although I'm probably not the best one to do it, so I might decide to find someone who's better than me. That is possible. Okay? Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Awesome. These are on the back if you want one. Thanks, guys. Enjoy your evening.
Are there any others in the audience of citizens that would like to speak in public comment?
Hi, folks. My name is Emily O'Hara. I'm the UConn Board Vice Chair, and I'm the coordinator of the New Voters Project, which has been reincarnated as New Voters Project Certified. I'm here to speak today on the proposed joint resolution on early voting. This past election cycle, our New Voters Project registered more than 2,000 students to vote and helped to increase voter turnout in Mansfield by 90% since the previous midterm. Our volunteers spoke in classrooms, they knocked on dorm doors, and they held events on campus to get students to the polls. These efforts, along with the campus-wide Husky Vote Coalition in partnership with USG, helped to increase this turnout. And while we know that voter turnout in this election was high, these numbers actually dwarf the state average of 29% increase over 2014. So it's clear that students are really, really excited about democracy and ready to be engaged. But a lot of the times there are challenges, and those challenges include a busy schedule. They include a full course load. They include unexpected tests, exams, you name it. And that's why the New Voters Project is in support of early voting. We testified in the General Assembly. In addition to making it easier to just get to the polls, early voting actually reduces long lines that can prevent students and others on a tight schedule from voting. And it allows for a correction of registration mistakes that sometimes occur when registering large numbers of new voters. I experienced that firsthand. A lot of the time students miss things on their forms. If we had more leeway, we would be able to ensure that everybody's registered to vote and everybody can take their vote count. Considering the work done on civic engagement by student groups here on campus and by the university, as a whole, I think this policy is something we should support locally. This body is the most effective way for conveying the thoughts and sentiments of UConn students as a whole. So I encourage you to adopt the joint resolution on early voting to that end. Thank you so much for letting me speak.
Is there anyone else who would like to speak in public comment? All right. Seeing none, we'll now move into attendance. The clerk may call the roll.
Okay. Bear with me, I'm very sick right now. Senator Bonaventura. Senator Cannon. Here. Senator Chapawala. Senator Chijulu. Parliamentarian Contreras. Here. Speaker Crow.
Here.
Senator DeMora.
Here.
Student Development Chairperson Douglas.
Here.
Senator Earl.
Here.
Senator Fernando.
Here.
Senator Frank.
Here.
Senator Glassell.
Here.
Senator Goss. Senator Howie.
Here.
Senator Kowalski.
Here.
Senator Knight,
Here.
Senator Knowlton,
Here.
Chief of Staff to the Office of the Speaker of the Senate, Lau, Senator Law, Senator Mackel,
Here.
Senator Molina, Senator McGinney, McEnany,
Here.
my apologies, Senator Mima,
Here.
Senator Mishra, Senator Moore,
Here.
Senator Nenendal,
Here.
Senator Nemec,
Here.
Senator O'Connor,
Here.
Senator O'Dowd, Senator O'Pimey, Senator Ose,
Here.
Senator Pan, Senator Patel, Senator Pratt,
Here.
Senator Rayakota,
Here.
Senator Resnick, Senator Reynolds,
Here.
Senator Roach,
Here.
Senator Sacamano,
Present.
Senator Straczynski,
Here.
Senator Testa,
Here.
Senator Thacker, Senator Tiberio, Senator Wursler, Senator Watina,
Here.
Senator Stansowitz.
Here.
Academic Affairs Chair,
Here.
Presidential Chief of Staff, Vice Presidential Chief of Staff, Public Relations Director,
Here.
Executive Advocacy Consultant, Chief Justice,
Here.
and President Apia. And then ex officio Derry
Here.
and ex officio Senator Thran.
Comptroller Thacker is also here. I did she ended up coming. Seeing that we do have quorum, I'm gonna, move to do two things before we move into our normal agenda. The first is to add, an agenda item, quick one, I promise, to new business, to the top of the list, known as the nomination of Krishna Chana to University Senate and Stephanie Andrade to the University Diversity Committee. Are there any objections to me adding this to the agenda by unanimous consent? All right. Seeing none, it is so ordered. All right. Next thing is, many of you may have noticed that in discussion, we have something known as executive session anticipated. When we move into executive session, this means that minutes will no longer be taken, all cameras will be turned off, and all non-members of the organization will be asked to leave for the time being so we can discuss matters concerning to personnel. Since we do have something to speak about in regards to that, I'm going to move to that discussion item first. I think this is one of the most important things we have to talk about at this Senate, and it should be the thing we talk about first. Are there any objections to that? Yes.
So the executive session turns off cameras, so it makes it intentionally not transparent, is what I'm getting at.
So I can understand how it looked that way in a manner of speaking, yes, it does. But the reason we're doing that is because we're discussing personnel matters that concern individuals in this body, and we want to make sure that we have the environment to discuss those personally and internally to the organization. This is a reason that Robert's Rules provides for this and allows us to do this. It can only be done in specific instances, like when we have a personnel matter to discuss, we can't just move in for any purpose, but given that this is one of those matters.
Yeah, this is actually provisioned by state law. This is a FOIA exemption. Personnel matters are, you don't put those in a record. There are 3 acceptable classes of reasons for executive session, and this is one of them.
And yeah, the question of who decides that. So I'm moving by unanimous consent to move to discussion, but in terms of moving into executive session, that requires a motion, a second, and a simple majority vote of the Senate. Good. All right. All right. Does anyone object to me moving to discussion first? Seeing none, so do I have a motion to move into executive session? First goes to Annandale, second goes to Glasser. We're going to move into a vote. All those in favor of moving into executive session, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, please signify by saying nay. Any abstentions? Opinion of the chair, the ayes have it, the motion carries. The approval of the minutes. First up is a motion to approve minutes from 1/30/2019. Do we have a motion? Motion goes to Howie, second goes to Moore. Is there any discussion on these minutes? Student Development Chairperson Douglas.
A motion to amend.
There's a motion to amend. What would you like to amend?
1 second.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Seeing none, we'll move into a vote. All those in favor of approving these minutes from January 30th, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please signify by saying nay. Any abstentions? Opinion of the chair, the ayes have it, motion carries. Next, we have a motion to approve the minutes from the special Senate last week, 2/6/2019. Do we have a motion? Motion goes to O's, second goes to Roach. Are there any discussion on these minutes? Seeing none, we'll move into a vote. All those in favor of approving the minutes from 2/6/2019, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, please signify by saying nay. Any abstentions? Hearing the chair, the ayes have it, motion carries. Now, move into reports. First, we'll move into the report of the Student Services Chair. Since the Student Services Chair is feeling ill tonight, he's delegated responsibility to me and sent me something to read to all of you. Hi. Hope everyone is having a great semester thus far and not worrying too much about midterms. Student Services has been inviting university administrators to our meetings. This past Monday, we've had Dr. Honorado and Tara from the Student Health Services who talked about the new wellness case competition initiative that they're spearheading. Additionally, on February 25th, we will be having Senior Director Silva Chan from the University Recreation Services to come to our meeting and give us an update on the new rec center and answer any questions that we may have about recreation services. Finally, I look forward to testifying at the Capitol tomorrow alongside Senator Mima on the bill regarding mental health in higher education institutions. Dr. Doherty, apologies, the Dean of Students, will also be there to testify as well. I hope to suggest an amendment to the existing bill to include mention of a mental health literacy module as suggested by the joint resolution we passed during last Senate. Wish us luck, and I look forward to updating you guys soon on our progress. If any of you have any questions for the Student Development Chair, please talk to me after, and we'll make sure, Student Services Chair, please talk to me after, and we'll put you in contact. Next, we will move into the report of the Academic Affairs Chair.
Hey, it's me again. Okay, so last week we had Dr. Schultz, who is one of the leaders on the Delta GE committee. So again, working with that general education reform, all that good stuff. So we really are making a lot of steps towards starting to get some more student feedback of it. So we'll be implementing a survey. I'm imagining that will be emailed out to all undergraduate students about their current attitudes towards the general education program, as well as their thoughts on the new setup and layout that we have going on. So that's what we've mostly been doing. We actually haven't met quite frequently as I'd like to, mostly because of the weather. Yesterday was a snow day. But that's also what we'll be working on again next week, as well as working more on that campus change initiative. So working with this Branch First, which is a student organization made up of students that have transitioned from regional campuses to this main campus. And that's all I really got.
Any questions for the Academic Affairs Chair? Seeing none, we'll move into the report of the student development chair.
Good night, everyone. Over the past week or so, I had the opportunity to sit down with the cultural centers regarding the cultural center open house. There's a lot of energy coming from over there to make this happen. I've been in regular communication with them since. This week, we had a wonderful brainstorming session, and we got a lot of the initiatives that we want to pursue kind of hammered out. In the coming week or two, we will pass an advocacy agenda, and I will be able to in more detail inform all of you as to what it is that we will be working on this semester. At our most recent meeting, we passed standing rules, which we will be reviewing here later tonight. I will be working with Omar in the future to get t-shirts and set dates on the events that we will be working on this semester. And then finally, we are picking up in our next meeting a new initiative proposed by Senators Howie, Knight, and Knowlton about green spaces on campus. And finally, I would like to congratulate our new Vice Chair, Senator Sean Roach.
Any questions for the student development chair? Seeing none, we'll move into the report of the external affairs chair.
I left it on.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
All right, thank you, Mr. Speaker. We did not have a meeting last week for external affairs, unfortunately. We had a lack of agenda items, and one of our vice chairs wasn't able to make it that day. But right now, there is a lot going on for state affairs with the testifying trip coming up. That is March 7th, which is a Thursday night from 3:30 to 8:30 is when the buses leave and come back. The actual testimony is from 5 to 7:30. I know President Apia sent out a email to the undergraduate listserv with information for people to sign up to travel on that trip. There will be more information coming out with more restricted channels asking people to testify. We're having ongoing discussions on certain demographics and areas of campus where students can represent when they go to testify, like honors, learning communities, USG, whatnot. So those are ongoing discussions we will have. I talked to Dennis Pierce, the Director of Dining Services, who will help us out in covering food for that trip with the budget box meals and pizza afterwards. We had other discussions in our meeting 2 weeks ago about what food and refreshments we should get for that event. So that is an ongoing effort, and we will be having more meetings in the future. I'd encourage you all to look out for an email or two about how to sign up for that trip. It is a great experience, and I encourage you all to go if you have the time on that Thursday evening. Otherwise, I had the opportunity to attend a roundtable forum with Senator Chris Murphy. Also, Vice President Gatherow did a presentation on food security during that. And I look forward to working with his office. Also, Food Share Connecticut has reached out to us to, work with us to establish a food pantry on campus, and they're looking for legislative and administrative support on that, so that's something we can also look forward to in the future. Otherwise, on state affairs, I know we're starting to reach out, and I know Corinne and Ruben Huka from my committee have started to reach out to some state representatives and senators from several of the committees that deal with issues that UConn students care about. I know a few of them have responded, and we'll get more information on that in the future and have further discussions on how that event should go down, and building on it from how we conducted it last year. At the town level, we had a planning and zoning meeting a week or two ago. that was inconclusive when it came to zoning regulations for off-campus housing developments. I know there was a lot of discussions. We had a meeting with Scott Jordan to discuss some letters he had sent to the Planning and Zoning Commission there regarding those off-campus developments. So those discussions are ongoing, and right now conclusive. We'll have more on that in the future. We also had discussions on community service events, as I've said in the past, and volunteering efforts that Vice Chair Rogalski will be handling over the next few months and for the next year. In terms of administrative stuff, I had several interviews with very qualified candidates for Vice Chair for Outreach. They offered a lot. They were very extensive interviews, and all the candidates offered a lot, and I will have a decision pending soon. I've begun to reach out to the candidates for that, and I will be making an announcement at our meeting on Friday at 3 p.m. in the SOC conference room. And that is it for my report. I will yield for questions.
Are there any questions for the External Affairs Chair? Seeing none, we'll move into the report of the VP Chief of Staff. Seeing that there is no report, we'll move into the report of the Presidential Chief. Seeing as there is no report, we'll now move into the report of the PR Director.
Okay, I hate this microphone. Elections are happening soon, so on Friday, if you are having a friend who wants to run for senator, if you have a friend who wants to run for senator position, have them submit their forms by Friday. Yep, that's about it for elections. I'm working with Vice President Galaru on metanoia stuff. We're working on, we had the event Yar Shahidi this past weekend. Now we're currently working with Subag and student activities for the planning of upcoming other metanoia events to support youth activism and youth advocacy and kind of like engagement at the youth level. 2 weeks ago, we had our first PRT meeting. That PRT meeting is now officially open to those who would like to attend. It is 7 p.m. on Thursdays. We are not meeting this week because we met 2 weeks in a row, and frankly, there's nothing to discuss this Thursday. But if you are interested in attending those meetings, you can feel free to do so. It's in the conference room, but if you want more information, you can feel free to email me. I think his name was Justin, the person that came in and spoke earlier. We are working with wellness services and student health services to promote their case competition to make sure that students are advocating for their own well-being on campus and providing initiatives to support the well-being of other students on campus. In a couple of weeks, hopefully, probably sooner rather than later, we're going to have a bunch of USG shirts that will be available for promotional purposes. They are just going to be tank tops with an animated version of the USG logo. We'll be giving them out to the committee chair people for when they're having events that are not USG for USG events. So academic affairs care packages, maybe something like that. Actually, probably not. But events along that nature, yeah, I don't want to give them out to those people. Yeah, Husky-thon is also in a week and a half, so please continue to support your fellow USG members that are raising money for Husky-thon, and share the links on your Facebook pages. Your those right there, cool. Husky-thon, yay. And then, yes, that's great. That's my updates. Thank you all.
Does anyone have any questions for the PR Director?
One of your meetings?
Oh wait, no, okay, I thought you were going to say my office hours. I don't want to give out my office hours. My meetings are 7 p.m. on Thursdays. My office hours are 11 a.m. to 12 p.m. on Wednesdays. But I also have online class during that time, so don't bug me. It's a valid excuse. Are there any other questions?
Seeing none, we will now move into the report of the comptroller.
Hi everyone, I hope you guys are doing well and enjoyed your snow day yesterday. So a few updates from me. Alma and I presented to SBAC on Monday, and we hope that it went really well. Later that day, I also went to the fee increase meeting, and just so you all know, it's going to be a $546 increase for the entire year on your student fee bill, and so that's around half that per semester. It's $250 for the gym per semester, as well as $23 for Guff fees. $23 is going to include brand new One cards, as well as smart readers all over campus. specifically in our new gym. So you have the gym fees as well as an additional one-card fees, totaling $546 for the entire year. If you want to dispute that, if you want to know more about that, there's town halls happening next Wednesday at 12:30 and at 5 o'clock in the Conover Theater, I believe in the Dodd Center. So if you want to make your voice heard about this, you can go there and do so. I yield back to the chair.
I think we have a question there.
Yes.
What do you mean by a smart card?
So now we swipe now with our one cards. It's going to be all touch, I believe. So wherever you go, you're going to just have to touch your ID, and that's why it's going to be $46 for the entire year, because everyone's going to be one cards with that. And just to note, that's the first increase since 2015. So the Gov Committee, which it makes decisions on these, has increased it since then. So, any further questions?
Seeing none, we will move into the report of the Chief Justice.
Hi folks. Okay, so in the judiciary there are a few things happening. We're hearing appeals, specifically for funding. So the comptroller sits in on those. We heard, I want to say, 4 or 5 appeals last week. We still have some cases left on the docket. Those will be heard next time we meet, which is the same time you all have caucus. In other news, our EOC chair is once again MIA, and so Omar and I have been taking on those duties. So I take on all the logistical and the kind of all the policy side of things, and Omar looks at all of the PR side of things. Yeah. Nobody can see that or put that on the minutes, but that's my attitude towards it. Okay, great. Questions?
Any questions from Chief Justice? Good.
So if there are questions that would be answered by the EOC in some form, who exactly do we contact, and when should we expect a response?
Yeah, so you should try to contact the judiciary. Currently I'm in the process of resetting the password to the EOC email so that I can read the emails that have been sent to the EOC, because currently nobody's doing that, which is an issue. So we're trying to get that fixed, but obviously that takes time, so let's take it done. In the meantime, interesting note that I will say, because there are people here, and I'm sure, never mind, there are people here. Nobody has yet been fully certified to run. Okay, here's what I mean by that. Every candidate, or not every candidate, every presidential, vice presidential, and comptroller candidate has submitted an intent to run for. That does not grant you candidacy. Once you've submitted the intent to run for, we go through a verification process for the top 3 candidates on the ticket. So what that entails is we go to student activities and they verify academic and otherwise eligibility. Once they've done that, we hold until next Friday when all your petitions are submitted. We go through and we verify the petitions. If the petitions are not verified, you can't run, unless you run a write-in campaign. So just keep that in mind. Cool. I've said that and there are people here, so tell your friends.
We have a few questions. One from the.
Yeah.
You said petitions are due next Friday or
Or this Friday, I guess. Not that we can equip it.
I would hope that everybody in place of the EOC chair, can I say that?
Yeah, just say it.
Okay.
No, actually, this is a question.
Okay, so, speak,
No.
Justice.
Hang on a sec.
I have
Hang
a
on.
question for-
Okay. If it's a question, I
It
will
is a
allow it.
question.
It's a question, there's no word for the question.
Yeah.
That'd be great.
So,
No, actually, here's what, I will move back to your report, and you can say it in your report.
Wait,
this is a question. This is a question.
No, we cannot get it over with.
yes, there we go, we have a second.
So what does somebody do if they are curious about the public and social media components of their campaign? Is there somewhere like the bylaws for those running that they should be checking before doing things on social media or other things like that?
Funny you should ask, Omar. Yeah, there is. It turns out that this body last Wednesday actually approved a piece of legislation that I find not so appropriately named CREEP. Anyway, okay, historical context, I guess, whatever. That's not even good historical context. Okay, whatever. Focus. It's a Nixon thing. Anyway, focus on what you're talking about. Read CREEP. It's all of the campaign election reform stuff, including all of the finance reform or the finance policies and all of the signature requirements. Usually we have the EOC set those things, but in the absence of the EOC, we had Senate set those things and also delegate me all the power of the EOC chair. So I'm effectively the EOC chair, which is why I'm trying to get access to that email. And all of those bylaw edits have been made and published to the website, so check that. I think it's bylaw 18B. So, yeah, read that. Okay.
Question?
First, thank you for taking over the city's conferences.
Yeah.
It's really good to have elections that ran effectively. Going forward, what's the plan? Obviously, you and the next chief justice can't be worried about the entirety of the elections. You know,
Yeah,
who trusts you to have that power?
Yeah, no, I agree with that, and I see that as a pretty serious concern. I think there are a couple options we have moving forward. So one of the, I think, the root causes of us having this EOC issue is that we don't have very many seniors in the group. So in terms of veteran senators, the oldest senators we have are like, I've been in here for as long as Josh, and then like there's only a handful of people who've been around for that long. Really, younger have been around for that long, but like we're not seniors. And Noah too, yeah. Oh, yeah. We've been here.
All right.
Well, a year off there, you know. Anyway. So the problem is nobody's a senior, right? And so people want to run the next year around, and so they don't want to be the EOC chair because then you can't run the next year around. And we're a somewhat political organization. You don't want to destroy all of your political ambitions in one fell swoop. So I get it, right? But next year, hopefully, there's going to be a set of seniors that want to take on the role. Worst comes to worst, we can change the rules on the EOC chairship. You know, one of the reasons we don't have the judiciary run the elections is because there have been in the past chief justices and justices who have run for university-wide office. So we're talking top 3 states. And that's not great because you don't want the same people running the election to be running in the election. See Georgia. I'll give it.
Are there any other questions for the Chief Justice? All right.
You should do this question and answer sessions more often.
Seeing none, we'll move into the report of the Vice President. Seeing no report from the Vice President, we'll now move into the report of the President. Be delivered by your.
I get to talk more than I ever do. Yay. Love talking, being serious. Okay, so these are just bulleted. Once again, I'm going to state them off exactly as they're written. So grammatical mistakes, not my fault. Thank you to everyone who has been canning for Husky-thon this week. I've been hearing about how successful we've been, and that is so awesome. Let's keep the momentum going. We only have a week and a half left till Husky-thon! Exclamation point. Met with Student Health Services this past week to discuss our upcoming collaboration, launching a case competition, which Justin mentioned earlier, where students can participate by creating a university-wide campaign focused on wellness. The winning team will win $250 per person and have their campaign implemented university-wide. So excited about this and more information to come. The new university president has been announced, woo, exclamation point. Tom Katsoulias is really great, and I'm excited to see everything he will bring to the table. He seems enthusiastic about building relationships with students and fostering mentorships, which is phenomenal. Shout out to London representing students well at the press conference as student trustee. Priyanka may talk about this more, but the SFAC presentation went very well. We were able to answer the committee's questions as well as justify projections for FY20 and 21. Shout out to Priyanka. Met with SHAPE last week to set the foundation for collaborators. We will be working with them to collect feedback on body positivity here on campus. SHAPE is an organization that promotes body positivity on campus, as I just said, I guess. My email to undergraduate students regarding appropriations hearing signups went out yesterday. Please check it out if you haven't done so yet. The hearing will take place at Capitol Hill in Hartford, and USG will provide free transportation to and from the location. Sign up and show your support for UConn, and make sure that you are sharing this with your friends so that they can also submit to potentially speak. Lastly, the New York Times digital subscription should be beginning this week. We are having a bit of response delay from our representative there. That being said, should have been out on Monday. Hopefully we'll have it out later this week. Thank you to everyone who was involved and brought it to fruition and saw it through the end from last summer. Since I'm, do you say this? Since I'm not actually on, I won't be entertaining any questions.
Yeah, if you have any questions for her, reach out to me afterwards, or the public relations director. I'll make sure to put you in contact. We're good?
Thank you.
All right. Next, we will be moving into my room. So, just might imagine a couple things. First and foremost, I'll be working with Senator Ose to establish the ODI training. Will probably tentatively be happening at one of our caucuses later in the semester, but we'll see. We may end up scheduling a different meeting. It depends. We'll be working on that going forward. In addition, many of you have heard lots about my bylaw and budgets committee and my ideas on that. I will hopefully soon be working with Noah Frank, or rather Senator Frank, to work out the language for that and propose that to the body and have that brought to you. Pretty soon, we're going to be doing a checkup on all of you senators. For all of you new senators, you'll remember when you first came in, members of leadership, definitely me, but some others as well, sat down with you, talked about your goals in the organization, what you had thought so far, any questions you've had. So we'll be doing that in 2 weeks or so, because we're coming up on the middle of the semester for, as we come up on elections, that's really marks the middle of the year for student government. And, excuse me, I'm losing my voice again. As a final note, I will be nominating a new deputy speaker this evening. A little bit of a spoiler, it's Senator Wursler. Now I'll finally have a deputy speaker who's not also trying to be a student development chair, so that will probably be a good thing. And I look forward to training with him and working with him for the rest of the semester. So that's pretty much it. Does anyone have any questions for me? Yes, go ahead.
In the previous semester, in the one-on-ones, I did not receive one, while you're receiving one in the coming semester.
You will not be receiving.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions?
Fellow chair, I'd share the sentiments and also get a one-on-one.
Any other questions? All right. Seeing none, we will now move into old business. Seeing that there is no old business, we will now be moving into new business. A motion concerning the nomination of Krishna Chana to University Senate and Stephanie Andrade to University Diversity Committee. Do we have a motion? Motion goes to.
I don't know how to say this, the name is right.
What'd you say?
The name is right. Chana is 2 N's.
Is 2 N's?
That's what as it's written. My name's spelled wrong.
2 N's?
2 N's.
Okay. Is there a motion? Motion goes to Fernando, second goes to DeVeri. All right, before we get into this, will the nominees, if they are here, stand, please? Do you accept the nomination?
Yes.
Okay. We're going to move into questions. Does anyone have any questions for the nominees?
Can I ask a question for both of them?
Yes.
Can you just both quickly state your background, what you do, and exactly what it is you will be doing for the University Senate, so we can get a feel of who you are? Sure.
You may go first.
Hi, my name is Stephanie. I'm not sure if you remember me, but I came in earlier this last semester to serve as a teacher for our Puerto Rican and Latin American Cultural Center. I am an administrative assistant there. I've been working there since I was a freshman. Fairly new to everything that's going on, but I'm excited to find out more and work with all of you, and especially the conversations that we had today. It's my first time being here from this end. But I'm really looking forward to working with you and with the students. I feel like there's a lot that I can bring to the table. I've been working almost 3 years now with Puerto Rican and Latin American Cultural Center and heavily involved with the other cultural centers as well. forward to that. And if you have any questions and things like that, all the conversations that we had today, I think that it's such a good time for me to coming into now because I have such good suggestions. But if you have anything that you would like to speak on with me regarding these issues, please let me know. I'm excited. But yeah, and then as far as political science major, I'm a junior. Background, ethnicity, I'm Ecuadorian. But yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And
My name is Krishna. So I served with President Pia last semester or last year as one of the fellow vice presidents of the CLA Student Leadership Board. So we got to know each other very well. And this semester, I'm now the president of the CLA Student Leadership Board. We're a relatively new group on campus, but we do have a lot of different things that are going on. And we have close connections with the CLAS deans, with a lot of administrative faculty. This past week, we've been working with Document Critique Center to change the business cards that UConn makes for students. And I don't know if many of you guys know about that, but we're fundamentally changing the design of them and also working with CCD to advertise them. So a lot of the work I've done for the past 2-3 years has been behind the scenes. And you guys might have not heard of me, but I've been around. As far as my other stuff, I'm an MCB major. I have 3 minors in chemistry, healthcare management, insurance studies, and English. And generally, I'm excited to join this committee because I think I bring a different perspective. I don't, for lack of a better way to put it, I don't bring the USG perspective. I bring a perspective outside of USG that I think is much needed, much more welcome in a university setting, especially when I've already interacted with many of the deans who I will be joining.
Thank you.
are there any other questions from the nominees? Seeing none, we'll now move into discussion. The nominees may sit. So, discussion on the nominees. Seeing none, we'll move into a vote. As a reminder, this motion requires a 2/3 majority to pass. All those in favor of the nominations, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, please signify by saying nay. Any abstentions? Opinion of the chair, the ayes have it, the motion carries. Congratulations. Next item on the agenda is a joint resolution requesting the implementation of a vending machine to sell contraceptive and other over-the-counter medicine. Do we have a motion? Motion goes to Mima, second goes to O'Connor. First, we will have up the author of the legislation to speak on this.
Hi, everybody. Thank you for allowing me to speak about this nice speaker. So, just a little bit about me. I'm actually pre-med. My dream to become a doctor and always has been. So, medical-related issues of personal importance to me. So, I got this idea back in November after an article in the Yale Daily News was published. So this is something that Yale University was looking to do as recently as November 2018. And essentially the problem that they were trying to tackle was twofold. A, it wanted to reduce the cost of Plan B provided to students. At Yale, the cost was $45 offered through the school. And it also wanted to offer Plan B 24 hours a day. So these two problems I thought to tackle here at UConn through the implementation of a vending machine that's primary goal was to sell emergency contraception while at the same time providing alternatives, perhaps for people that do not engage in completely heterosexual relationships. I did not want the machine to be heteronormative, so it would sell condoms, dental dams, and I also did not want the machine to get a sexual kind of connotation, so it would sell Tylenol, Advil, and other over-the-counter medications. So in September 2017, Stanford University implemented the machine with great success. Also in 2017, University of California, Santa Barbara, as well as the University of California, Davis, implemented a similar machine with lots of success. And in 2012, Shippensburg University in Pennsylvania was one of the first schools in the United States to implement such a machine. So I'm quoting Princeton University in a report that was authored in January 2018, in which it said, Selling contraceptives through vending machines is a novel technique primarily aimed at college campuses. So given that this is getting attention from schools like Princeton University, Yale University, and University of California, Davis, I think it would be a great way to put UConn on the map with something novel. So it would make UConn look good while tackling a problem that I think is quite important. CVS is closed on any given day for 7 hours in Store Center, and the Union Central Exchange convenience store is closed from 10 to 12 hours during any given day. I don't have the exact closing times for student health services, but student health services would be the other option to sell Plan B medication aside from CVS, but they are also not open 24 hours. One of the things I'd like to remind you is that Plan B is actually sold at student health services for $15. It's a generic form of Plan B. That is something that is not known by a decent portion of the people that I've spoken to. So I encourage you on a side note to get in contact with your constituents in the meantime to let them know that Plan B is sold by student health services during business hours for $15. One of the problems with implementing such a vending machine at UConn is that it actually violates Connecticut state law. Connecticut is one of few states in the United States that prevent over-the-counter drugs from being sold in vending machines. Plan B is considered one. Condoms are actually considered an over-the-counter drug, and obviously Tylenol and Advil. So none of this could be sold in a vending machine, according to the current Connecticut state law, which was passed in 1999. Now, obviously, the world, I would say American culture, has changed a lot since then, especially in regards to sexual health. So it is my proposal in this bill to lobby our representatives to propose an amendment to the Connecticut State Statute 20-576-31 that would allow for an exception to be granted to college campuses. So I'm aware that joint resolutions passed through USG are non-binding. Essentially, this is our way of affirming UConn's position that it wants to be in line with other prestigious universities in pursuing a vending machine catering to sexual health as well as health in general. Again, I think it's incredibly important to allow students access to these kinds of medications 24 hours a day, because in fact 64% of college students do not consistently report utilizing condoms during sexual intercourse. If they are engaged in a heterosexual relationship, obviously the chance of pregnancy arrives, and that I assume would be concerning for any couple. So again, I would like to see these drugs offered 24 hours a day. I'd like to see them offered at a nonprofit cost to students and only to students of the university, and therefore I am presenting this resolution to you here tonight. I have the blessing of Student Health Services. I coordinated with Derek to pursue this, and Student Health Services said, while the current state statute is obviously an obstacle, in the meantime, we can tell our constituents that Plan B is offered at $15 a package during business hours, that condoms are offered for free. I want to say in Manhattan Hall, is that the right hall? But condoms are offered for free in some location on campus. So there are other alternatives that we can pursue in the meantime, but I would like to see this passed tonight so that we can affirm UConn's position that it wants to see a vending machine like this implemented at UConn. Thank you.
Thank you. We're actually going to move into the question portion. So the way this is going to work is we're going to have 5 minutes worth of questions, right? And we'll start the clock whenever the author is answering questions, but stop it when the questions themselves are being asked. I would like to remind everyone that this is question time, not discussion time. If you're trying to prove a point with your questions, probably best to leave it for a discussion, which will come next. All right, and as a quick note, when you have 1 minute left, I'll tap once. When you have 30 seconds left, I'll tap twice. And when you have 10 seconds left, I'll tap twice. All right, so with that, we will move into questions. First, citizens and citizens.
Yeah, I just have a question on nonprofit costs, meaning that the school will just come to the money and the students will just pay back the school for what the
focusing with the logistics, but, or not focusing on logistics as much. What would like, if this resolution was passed, what would the next steps be? How do you define like lobbying, for example?
So the next step would be to get in contact with our senators, and I imagine I would be working with other administrators at that point, once we affirm as the Student Senate USG position. And yes, we would get in contact with May Flexler and Senator Greg Haddad to pursue this further. And in the meantime, we are pursuing other public relations initiatives regarding the Plan B being sold at $15 a package. That's a really big thing because a lot of students don't know that they have that option. So we're doing other public affairs initiatives as well.
Senator Glassman.
Since this is going to involve working with the Connecticut legislature, have you brought this up with the executive external affairs committee?
I did. Yeah. Sorry.
What was the response?
Oh, the response, they did not have a meeting this Friday.
Yes, you can serve, yeah, you can serve.
So I discussed with members of my committee, a couple of members of my committee, who were interested in the idea to engage in discussions.
Yeah, Steve.
So I had discussions with a couple members of my committee on how we would go about this. I directed them to Chairperson Hand from Student Services and Senator Sacramento to, engage in more dialogue on this. But we are willing to work further with Senator Sacramento and other members who are interested on this initiative in the future if this bill happens to pass. I know we will be having Senator Flexer and Representative Haddad visit at one of our meetings over the next month or so. But we are willing to have those discussions if the Senate agrees that's a good way to go.
Any further questions?
I have a question. Have you met with Student Health Services, and if yes, what was their response to
I
it?
did. So I met with Dr. Suzanne Honorado, Dr. Ashley Stone, and Dr. I always pronounce her name wrong, Dr. Kikara. Can't remember her first name. The medical director at Student Health Services. And yes, they gave their support of this initiative.
Did you meet with Wellness and Prevention Services as well?
I did not meet specifically with Wellness and Prevention Services, but I would have.
Senator Mendenhall, and then
When you met with Student Health Services, did you discuss where the funding was come from, or have you projected some like cost would be to them? Is there a good price? How much does it cost?
So in this bill, I intentionally left out any sort of funding initiative because it's too far down the line. So the first step right now is to get the legislature to amend the current state statute that would allow the vending machine to be implemented. Now, I think there are various avenues that we could pursue to get this funded. It could be a USG initiative, it could be an administration initiative, it could be a private donation, it could be an idea grant. There's so many different things that I look forward to pursuing once we get the green light to actually implement this. Yeah.
So, I appreciate we let that phone that But another question I have is regarding this whole vending machine state statute which regulates medication vending machines. I'm sure that wasn't to stop students from having access to this reception. I feel like if we try to bring that to the legislature, there's a whole lot of others just going to burn if we were to try to lobby against that. I'm wondering if perhaps we should not do the vending machine because there are statutes and things like that, just give your knowledge.
So actually, we are coordinating with Yale University. If the Senate gives us the green light to pursue this, we will be working in tandem with the Yale Student Council, I believe they're called, because this is something that they've also were disappointed to see happen. They were actually in the late stage of their project when one of the university's lawyers discovered this statute. So I'm going to read it to you. It says, no non-legend drug shall be sold or offered or exposed for sale or dispensed by any means in any type of vending scheme. And this was adopted January 11th, 1999. I wasn't even born at that time. So I think one of the issues here that I see is the law, American culture and college culture has changed a lot in the past nearly 20 years. So I think that the state senate would be amenable to including an exception for college campuses.
I thought that you had the entire staff, but I just wanted to, I just wanted to ask, how come if they say that with any machine? Because I feel like that might just cause a bit of an error.
Yes, so if we take away this vending machine in this bill, it essentially loses all substance because I'm asking for Plan B to be sold for 24 hours a day and other sort of over-the-counter drugs. How are we going to sell something 24 hours a day if we're not selling it in vending machines?
Senator Mendenhall, if, let's give it a chance for other senators to ask questions as well, and I may after let you come back to it. If there's significant concerns you have about this joint resolution, I'd suggest you bring it up in this. What? No, you did not, but I would like to, I'm going to use my authority as chair to move on. Senator Corsola, I believe.
My question is in regards to avoidance of the sexual connotations. Don't you believe that sexual connotation is kind of inherent in talking about sexual prevention?
Absolutely. I mean, it's going to sell sexual health products, but it's not only going to sell sexual health products. So I think marketing this machine is going to be very important. While it was motivated to allow sexual health products to be sold 24 hours a day, I think it's very important that we also include non-sexual health products that would still be useful to students 24 hours a day.
So is it going to be selling both sexual and so other things? Is there a specific company or organization that you know of that does all of it? Or there will be multiple organizations all putting out into
I think that's a very good question. I'm glad you asked that. So Yale was working with a company called Bengal Labs, and I'm quoting the Yale Daily Campus here, a company that offers small, compact vending machines with various products to install and restock the wellness machine for free. So obviously, if this is something we get the green light to pursue, I will be reaching out to Bengal Labs first.
Have you consulted female students that will be the recipients of these products? Like you have Tampon Time as an initiative, it's kind of overlaps with that. Have you consulted any of those?
Absolutely, I contacted female students, and the response that I got was, Plan B is so expensive at CVS. And then when I replied that Plan B was sold to Student Health Services for $15 a package, they were genuinely surprised. So I think in general, PR efforts regarding this need to be improved. The fact that Plan B is sold for $15 and students are running across the street to CVS, spending $45 or $50, depending on if they get the generic or name brand, that's an issue in and of itself. But yes, I've done my best to contact as many female students as possible regarding this.
Follow-up question. Have you taken measures to maybe make sure that there are women constantly and consistently involved throughout this entire process? Because this, once again, we'll be targeting them and form like a group that will be consulted on every decision that's being made because constituency people that you're working for.
So I'm working with the Student Services Committee. So that's a very large committee, and I think there's plenty of people that are aptly able to express their opinion regardless of their gender. I would say the Student Services Committee is pretty split even. So,
thank you.
You're welcome.
Chief Justice, you have a question?
Yeah, you mentioned the state statute was very specific in barring vending machines. Was there a reason for that?
So again, the law was created in 1999. I don't have a specific reason for why it was included. However, I can tell you that the entire bill is nearly 30 pages long with individual statutes, and it's called the practice of pharmacy. So I don't want to speculate to why the statute was included, but it wasn't solely itself. It wasn't passed just in and of itself. It was a list of about hundreds of different statutes pertaining to the pharmacy, passed in 1999.
Senator Mimo.
Could the statute be amended rather than to strike the entirety of it?
That's
just to say like at post-secondary institutions or like college campuses that would be allowed?
well, I believe that's what I requested.
Right there, okay.
Yeah, I did not ask to strike it. I personally wouldn't be in favor of striking it because we don't want some of these things being sold at 7-Eleven to, 11-year-olds and not being able to abuse certain over-the-counter drugs. So, yes.
We've got about a minute left for questions. Senator Ost, you're up next.
Previously, we're referring to a we in the sense that we are moving forward with this, we are enacting this. Who's the we in this? The Student Services Committee, Health Services?
Well, I don't entirely understand your question. Because we're the undergraduate student senate, so if this is something that is passed, it's a we initiative. It's we pass this by representing our constituents and thinking that this would be beneficial to them. I'm not going to use the term I, because this is not a personal endeavor. This is something that I think would be very beneficial to all students at UConn, and that's why I use the pronoun we.
Okay, another question. How do we specify the venue that this is only for UConn students?
So,
Given that it would be 24-hour availability.
So Matt Zanzu has pointed it out. I didn't include it specifically in case the university wanted to do something different, but the idea that I had in mind was that you would be required to swipe your Husky One card before purchasing anything.
I'm going to cap the questions list at this because we've got about 40 seconds left, and I want to make sure everyone who's on the list up until this point gets a chance to speak. Senator Roach, your question?
So you talk about you want the vending machine in a place that's going to be accessible 24 hours. Where exactly would that be? You said the union closes, academic buildings closed. There's not really any place that you can put it. So like, where would you suggest it?
So it's something that we would have to work in tandem with the university. Perhaps a portion of the library is left open 24 hours a day. Perhaps a certain door to student union is left open 24 hours a day. Perhaps a certain academic building, the doors are left 24 hours a day open. So it's definitely something that we need to work in tandem with the university with to determine where it would be placed. My main concern was that it was in an inconspicuous place, so that students would not feel self-conscious about using it.
Senator Olbayemi.
You said earlier about sexual and non-sexual products. What kind of non-sexual products?
So non-sexual products, I was thinking, again, it says including but not limited to. So if anybody has any ideas of what could be put in here, please contact Derek or I, Senator Pan, I should say. But I was referring to Tylenol, Advil, Motrin, your typical painkillers, perhaps allergy medication, so different things that students would perhaps need access to.
And last but not least, Chairman Douglas.
I'll yield the question.
All right. With that, I'd ask the author to sit down, and we will move into discussion. Is that a motion, Douglas?
Motion to amend.
You have a motion to amend.
In the footnote number 8, I believe there's accidentally a pause, a space between the numbers 4 and 7. That makes the URL not work. If that space isn't there, then that URL.
Is there a second to that motion? Second goes to Ned. Okay. With that, there's another motion?
Motion to amend the first therefore clause. In the final word of this clause, it references both Tylenol and Advil. My assumption is that this bill is intended to provide pain relief products, so I would like to amend the word Tylenol to acetaminophen and Advil to ibuprofen. This doesn't necessarily need to be very specific. I think the point is to just provide relief.
Is there a second to that motion? First, we need a motion. Second goes to Glassman. And it is taken as amendment.
Can I also add something to that amendment?
No, you can't. You can motion for a separate amendment. Okay. That amendment is taken as friendly. Now we have another amendment.
Yeah, I'd like to have an approximate as well.
Okay. Is there a second to that amendment? Second goes to Douglas. Can you actually spell that?
N-A-P-R-O-X-E-N. Delete.
N-A-P.
N-A-P.
Yeah, can you spell N-A-P?
R-O-X-E-N.
This is taken as friendly, I assume? Okay. So, now with that, move to speakers list discussion. Senator Ost, first.
Okay, cool. I was given the privilege to read over this joint resolution, I feel earlier than most. And I had quite a few comments that I added in as suggestions.
within that sentence. During questions, most of them were addressed. I would actually say this joint resolution covers too much. It covers both a state statute, it covers the student's overall sexual health, it covers emergency contraceptives, it covers sexuality and being non-biased, and also the funds and where they're gonna come from, and it's a lot in one joint resolution. I am pushing that we do not pass this joint resolution, to give it time to be amended and rewritten into however many joint resolutions that actually make it effective moving forward in a timely manner as well. Because we can press for students' overall sexual health, but if we're gonna be tied up within our specific therefore clause, waiting for a representative and a senator to get back to us to amend a state statute about something that's been enacted since 1999, are we really considering the student's overall sexual health? I would definitely say, as well as things that were mentioned, working with wellness and prevention services, because the money that we pay to the university pays for part of student health services, which was discussed, and wellness and prevention services, which was not met with. I'm sure that they were intended to be met with, but they do offer free, safer sex supplies within their building in Wilson Hall. Within wellness and prevention services, they also have a standard within their offices to be non-biased, which is fantastic. So anytime you go in, you are welcomed very happily. And they also offer different things within safer sex supplies, to adding lubricant and abstinence kits, which is opening up the floor within sexuality towards people who prefer to partake and don't partake. I would highly, highly press a rewrite out of this sentence specifically to amend the joint resolution. Thank you.
Thank you. Next on the speaker's list is Senator Douglas. Chairperson Douglas, you want to go on?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Briefly, I'd like to say that Senator Rose raises some excellent points. However, I think that as opposed to not passing this tonight, I think that our time would be better spent writing an additional joint resolution to address more of those things more specifically. I think that this is a good first step as far as reaching out to the powers that be outside of UConn and expressing also to the powers that be within UConn that this is something that the students want and something that the students would look for. If the chair would accept it, I'd like to yield the remainder of my time to Nanda Tumun's capacity as an undergraduate student, not the Chief Justice.
I would accept that yield. You have a minute and 20 seconds. 20 seconds.
All right. Okay. So I like where this is going, but there were a couple things that I was kind of concerned about as a student. One of them is this notion that just because UC Davis, UCSB, and Stanford are doing it, and Yale tried to do it, that getting it on the ground floor is going to be great for students. I'm not necessarily sure that that's the right kind of attitude to approach this. I think there's significant public health concerns with giving people unrestricted access to over-the-counter medication. There are benefits to being able to see a pharmacist every time you buy something. The risks of taking medication, even Tylenol, if you take it too much or too often, can actually impact your health. And while I want to increase availability of these drugs, I don't want to compromise on the safety of undergraduate students or the safety of anyone. So I want to make sure that we also make education of people a priority, not only when it comes to contraceptives, but also when it comes to prescription medication and the potential adverse impacts of taking medication too often and self-medicating. I'll yield.
All right, next on the speaker's list is Senator Bobby.
So I appreciate everybody's comments so far. I would first like to address Senator Ost. She mentioned that there was funding included in this bill, in this resolution, but funding, as I've stated, was intentionally left out to leave it open to the administration. I would also like to object to her thought that this resolution should be split up into separate joint resolutions. The problem I have with that is why take something that's already comprehensive and split it up into 6 different things, which would require multiple senates, which would require multiple presentations, multiple discussions, when it's all right here. I am open to amendments if anybody has any concerns, but I definitely do not agree with the notion that this resolution should fail because of its length. Its length is due to its comprehension, and I think that is something that has been lacking in recent bills, at least the ones that I have seen since being here in USG. And secondly, Mr. Chumu, Chief Justice, I do agree that abuse of drugs is a significant problem, but these days you can buy Tylenol and you don't see a pharmacist because it's located on the other side of the pharmacy. So while in theory the pharmacist is within 20, 30 feet of you, most people do not go to the pharmacist to request assistance with purchasing over-the-counter drugs. Thank you.
Next on the speakers list is Senator Roach.
Yeah, so I just wanted to bring up the point about how this vending machine can cause a lot of extra liability for UConn, because if anything inside the machine expires, that can cause a lot of damage. It could cause pregnancy, cause like potential damage to the student using it. Also, if we have this as a resource and it's suddenly not stocked or something like that, the students won't have it, and the whole point of this is to have that. In addition to that, you were saying, Senator Sacamano was saying that we need to, potentially we're going to have to open a part of the library, open a part of something else to keep it open 24 hours, and that also adds additional liability, additional work to that. Also with liability, people, if they don't have the money to pay for this stuff, I think it could be very likely that they would break into the machine to get like Plan B if they don't have the money for it, to prevent themselves from becoming pregnant, which could cause other issues. I'd like to yield the rest of my time to Senators.
I will accept that you have time.
So covering the, perfect, Senator Sacamano? Great. So covering a certain whereas clause within this specific joint resolution supporting the fact that it should be rewritten in general, is that the Union Central chain convenience store does not actually sell emergency contraceptives. And Student Health Services does sell emergency contraceptives. They sell a specific over-the-counter medication, and they also sell a prescription medication. Student Health Services requires, or within their specific rules, we'll say, can't think of the word, requires to offer counseling for every single medication that comes out of their pharmacy. So every time that you pick up a medication, whether it's a prescription or whether it's something you're buying over the counter, whether it's the Tylenol you're buying there, the eye drops, whatever else, as soon as you...
I just wanted to say that your time that you were yielded to is about to elapse, but you're next on the speakers list, so it starts over again. You have a question.
Okay. So within Student Health Services, they require counseling, and you, as you're picking it up, say either I accept the counseling or I deny the counseling as a coherent person purchasing such medications. That is enacted within Student Health Services. If we have a vending machine giving out, that's not going to be enacted, and students may not be as informed as they should be within that. Within the Wellness and Prevention offices, where they give out safer sex supplies, there is someone there that you can ask any sorts of questions. They have the non-bias in their own training to allow space for people to explore whatever questions that they have and really trust their sexuality in that aspect. And a vending machine that does cover condoms, whether male, female condoms, dental dams, whatever else that is proposed to be selling in here, you would lose the possibility of adding effective communication within people that are knowledgeable on this staff. Because if 64% of students are not using condoms, reporting not using condoms during sex, clearly there's some sort of information bias. I would also urge within a rewrite of a specific joint resolution to contact Wellness and Prevention Services and see how effective their missions have been, because they are giving out these supplies for free. Do students know about them? Clearly, students don't know about the options available at Student Health Services. Also with that, is it just under insurance? Specifically, that makes it $15. You have to have the specific insurance that goes along with it. There's so many other things that are involved in this, which is why I'm pressing for a rewrite specifically. Thank you.
Is that a motion?
Yes.
Yeah, so there's a motion. What is this?
Motion to amend the second, strike the second whereas clause in its entirety due to lack of relevance to the overall.
Is there a second to the motion? Well, it's, yeah, so there's a second to that motion? Okay. Now we're gonna move into discussion. We will have first the author of the bill have 2 minutes to speak against this amendment, and then the motioner of the amendment will speak 2 minutes for, and then we will vote.
So why, and I was going to address Senator O's in her statement when I got to speak next. However, yes, the Union Central Convenience Store does not sell Plan B medication. It's not a pharmacy, it's not allowed to sell that. However, it does sell condoms, and that is why I included the time in here that the Union Central Convenience Store is closed. Now, I included that because condoms are available for free on campus. In a certain part of campus, I believe it's only one hall. Somebody correct me if I'm wrong. Only one hall on campus. Now, some of you probably live 25 minutes away from that hall. Some of you may live off campus and don't have easy access to those free condoms. So putting a vending machine in a separate place on campus that would allow these things to be sold enables people more convenience in obtaining them. So that's why I'm not in favor of this clause, because I think it's relevant to the products that are sold in the Union Central Exchange Convenience Store that would be sold in the vending machine so that they are available 24 hours a day. Thank you.
Chairperson Douglas. You have 2 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. As the previous senator just noted, the things that are sold within the central exchange are also available elsewhere on campus for no cost. I think that a better thing to do would be to push for the expansion of that, say getting those into the residence halls, especially the ones that have lobbies, as opposed to talking about the central convenience store, because I just don't feel like it's related to what the larger overall picture of this bill is, and there are still other ways to get the things that are exclusively there.
We're now going to move into a vote. As a reminder, this motion requires a simple majority to pass. All those in favor of striking the whereas clause, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please signify by saying nay.
Nay.
Any abstention? All right. So we're going to do a rising vote. All those in favor of the amendment, please stand. Yeah, in favor of striking the clause. All right. All those opposed, please stand. Any abstentions from else? One senator Randolph. In a vote of 10 to 23 to 1, the nays have it and the motion fails. We're now back into debate on the bill as a whole. Senator Wuerstler is next. As a quick comment, you can come up. As a quick comment, every person is limited to 2 times to speak. Currently, Senator Ose is the only one who's exhausted that, but others of you are coming close. That does not mean you cannot be yielded to, but it means you can no longer come up yourself and speak. Senator Wuerstler?
Good evening, everyone. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I just had a couple concerns about this. The main one being that I prefer this joint resolution to be specifically funded, or excuse me, specifically concerned for the selling of contraceptives. And it makes me uncomfortable lobbying to get a statute out for all over-the-counter drugs. I feel that at this point in time, our main focus, if the truly the main focus of this is to sell contraceptions to encourage safe sex and smart choices, And I think the other contraceptions mentioned in here should be stricken from the document. See, that degrades, at least from my original intent, at least my initial viewpoint, the goal of the paper. I'd be much more comfortable voting in favor of this if those were stricken, because in its current form, it's striking the statute, just currently restricting all over-the-counter drugs. I feel like if the sponsor, excuse me, the author of this paper would be more amenable to that, I'd be appreciative. Thank you. And with my intent, I'd like to designate whatever it's called.
Yield.
Yield. Thank you. To Senator Lewis.
I'll accept that yield. You have a minute.
Great. Proving a point that I was just trying to make, we were literally just trying to rewrite the joint resolution in Senate right now. Clearly there are more complexities to all of this than we can handle in amending certain lines, restricting certain things, and everything else. This is a 1.5-page long joint resolution, supposedly covering the entirety of the complexities of UConn's community and all of their sexual needs and everything within all of the spectrums of gender and sexuality in a 1.5 pages, trying to fit it all into a vending machine. Again, it's not opposing everything that's happening. I definitely support everything with promoting the sexual health of UConn. That is so important. Given the statistics that are listed here, it's just for a rewrite and to be rewritten.
All right. Actually, hold on a second, Senator Moore. You can come up. I just want to note something as a quick point. It seems like the debate is going back and forth about whether to strike this down or pass it. Those are not the only two options here. The Senate as a whole can motion to refer this to a committee by a simple majority vote, in which case it would not be struck down, it would not be passed. It would be referred back to a committee and where it could be edited more. We'd have to designate, Judge Motion would have to designate which committee it would be going to, but I just want to mention that. And with that, there's a question.
No, I have a question.
Okay, yeah, that's fine.
So if in that sense it would be referred to a committee, would then the person motioning it to be referred to a committee choose the committee?
Yes, in a sense. You would say, I motion to send this to the External Affairs Committee or the Student Development Committee or...
So it would be that sole person's choice of which committee would handle it best?
Yes, and at the same, but there also needs to be a second to that motion and a simple majority vote of the Senate, so that would imply an agreement from the bodies.
Thank you.
Senator Moore, you may speak.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
You have 2 minutes.
I'm not going to use the microphone, but bear with me, I'm a little under the weather. So I think the general consensus that I'm getting from the body as a whole is that we're not diametrically opposed to this idea, not at all. But this joint resolution that we see before us just doesn't cut the due diligence standards that we keep ourselves to, or ideally we keep ourselves to. I personally, I love the idea, but I can't support something that has, frankly, not been fully fleshed out. So, seeing as that, I am officially motioning to table this piece of legislation indefinitely, to give the opportunity to the authors to try again and make something that we would all love to support.
Before you second, I just want to clarify something. If this motion is tabled indefinitely, it cannot be edited. When we take it from the table, it has to be taken as written. If your intent is to give it time for there to be edits to it, then I would highly suggest refer to a committee. If instead you want to postpone it to another meeting, then that would be when you do.
Might I explain that? So the reasoning behind tabling indefinitely is to give Fabio and his sponsors the opportunity to start over, because like I said, I'm not opposed to this, but I feel like the easiest way to make it amenable to everybody is to just start fresh, clean slate. And I think that the best way to do that is, correct me if I'm wrong, but tabling indefinitely, table this piece of legislation, it does not bar a similar piece from coming to the floor at a later meeting. Is that correct?
That is indeed true. All right, with that, does that motion have a second? Second goes to Senator Provost. All right. Now, we're going to have 2 speakers on this motion. We're going to have Senator Moore, although he did just defend it, he's going to articulate his position again, and then we'll have one more speaker who I believe will be Senator Sakuma. And then we will vote.
Okay. I've pretty much said what I have to say, so I won't french fry too much. Like I said, I am not at all against this idea, but the best way to make it the best it can be is to start fresh. So please support my motion. I yield the chair.
Thank you. And with that, we will, Senator Sakuma. 2 minutes.
With all due respect to everybody in this room, I must say that you are propagating the exact issue that most of the student body has with USG as a whole. And what you are doing is you are taking a very comprehensive resolution and demanding that it be rewritten for some unknown reason after having gone through the Student Services Committee, after having met the Student Health Services. Quite frankly, I think the motion to table this after the speaker just said it could not be changed is incredibly inappropriate, and I encourage you, I vehemently encourage you not to table this resolution. Obviously, it will not be able to be edited at that point. It will need to be entirely rewritten. How can I take something after having presented it to Student Health Services, after having presented it to Student Services Subcommittee? How can I take something, completely rewrite it, and then bring it to you at the Senate floor again? I would have to go back and propose and show everybody essentially the same document with different wording again to get their blessing. Your motion to table this basically says to your colleagues in Student Services that they don't know how to pass a bill. That's what it says. And what it also says is that the executives at Student Health Services don't know where to place their support. And I think that's a gross overreach of the Student Senate, and I think it's a very poor judgment. So I encourage you, do not table this, and furthermore, I encourage you to pass it. Thank you.
We're going to move to a vote on this now. This motion requires a simple majority to pass. All those in favor of laying this on the table indefinitely, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please signify by saying nay.
Nay.
Okay, we're going to do a rise and vote again. All those in favor of laying this on the table, please stand up. Please sit. All those opposed to laying this on the table, please stand up. Eight. Please sit down. Any abstentions? 4 abstentions. In a vote of 11 to 18 to 4, the motion fails. All right. There's a motion on.
Motion to refer back to the Student Services Committee.
Is there a second to that motion? Second goes to Senator Worthington. All right. We're going to have another, Chairperson Douglas is going to speak on this, and we'll have one more person speak on this. Who else would like to speak on this motion? Senator Simon.
While in its present form, I would vote in favor of this bill. It has become clear to me that many in the body feel that this bill is underdeveloped. For that reason, as opposed to laying it on the table, I would rather see it sent back to our colleagues in the Student Development Committee to take another look at, make whatever revisions that. Oh, that's me. Back to the Student Services Committee to use our minutes from tonight and whatever other suggestions that we can send along to that committee in order to make the revisions necessary to make it more amenable to this body. And I'll leave.
Senator Sakuma.
I am glad to see that the senators in this room are very interested in debating the intricacies of the resolution that I authored. However, again, if we are to send this back to the Student Services Committee, we're essentially just delaying it, and we're saying to all the senators that listened to my proposal, that helped me author this bill, that gave me feedback on this resolution, we are essentially saying that you did not do your job. And I don't believe that the 20-something, perhaps 30-something senators sitting in that room did not do their job. I think that tonight, the proposal to essentially get rid of this resolution in some form, has motivation other than what has been dictated today. And I think that is incredibly dangerous for our organization. Tonight, you have the opportunity to reject that notion and to affirm the honor and dignity of yourselves and USG as a whole. So again, I encourage you, do not send this back to the Student Services Committee. To me, I would personally be insulted if this was sent back, not because I authored it, but if I were a senator in Student Services and something was sent back for issues that were not voiced in the Student Services Committee by the same senators that spoke out tonight against this bill. So again, please do not send this to Student Services, back to Student Services.
I apologize, I was dealing with something else. I'm gonna actually cut your time short there, Fabio, as you sit back down. I think that the spirit of what is meant has been conveyed fairly clearly, and I think we will now be moving into a vote on whether or not to send this back to the Student Services Committee. This motion requires a simple majority to pass. All those in favor of sending this to the Student Services Committee, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, please signify by saying nay. Nay. Any abstentions? Opinion of the chair, the ayes have it, motion carries. Tonight, the legislative coordinator will send the bill to Chairman Pan with an explanation of what happened, as that has been referred back. I also, I will say in my role as speaker, will make sure that there is time dedicated this Wednesday at caucus to talking about this more extensively, so the issues that have been brought up tonight can be dealt with in a more informal setting. Thank you. We'll now move to the next item on the agenda. A resolution concerning the student development standing rules. Is there a motion to consider this? Motion goes to Fernando, second goes to Knight. All right, we will have the proposer of this resolution come up and speak on it.
Not a whole ton to say here. This is the typical standing rules, almost exactly copied from, I would like to say, the External Affairs Committee, but very well maybe Student Services. There's not a ton going on there. Basically, it gives the chair all the normal powers shared by the other committees, and then defines what is and is not membership. With that, I'll move to questions.
5 minutes for questions, same as it was for the last bill. Are there any questions for the student development chair? Yeah, one over here.
Punishment for Bernard, I guess. Did the committee have standing rules before?
So technically, standing rules don't expire ever. So there could have been a set of standing rules passed 2 semesters ago that may still be in effect now. However, we did not pass a set of standing rules last semester.
Okay. Well, one thing. The standing rules do expire in our committees because the Senate refreshes, the chair people refresh, so the committee's new. It's just like the Senate is new the next time it gets done, that kind of thing, right? The administration changes hands.
Is there a question?
Yeah.
No, this is a traditional note. Just wanted to make that clear.
All right. Are there any other questions for the student development chair? All right, we'll move into discussion. Is there any discussion on this resolution? Seeing none, we'll move into a vote. All those in favor of a resolution concerning student development standing rules, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, please signify by saying nay. Any abstentions? One from the chair. In the opinion of the chair, the ayes have it, motion carries. Next, we move into a joint resolution recommending early voting in the state of Connecticut. Is there a motion? Motion goes to Moore, second goes to Douglas. I will invite the author to come up and speak for 10 minutes.
All right, guys. So Emily O'Hara from Concord came and talked about this a little bit at the beginning from the audience of our citizens. She basically nailed all the points and took them all from me, which is a little selfish on her part, but it's okay. It's okay. Emily and I are tight. I'm the author of this bill, but I can't take much credit because I had a lot of conversations with Emily about this. I've always been interested in early voting. It makes a lot of sense for those of you that don't know. It's literally you being able to go to a polling place or someplace designated as a polling place for the time being before the scheduled vote in November. Vote on your ballot, submit it, and it's really helpful for the elderly who may not be able to go, people who work that may not be able to go on election day, or students like ourselves that just might not be in our towns, and absentee ballots are really annoying. You have to print them out, find a postage stamp, mail it in, get your actual ballot back, fill it out, mail it back. That's a lot of work, that's multiple days. A lot of college students don't have the time or patience for that, let's be honest. That's okay. I listed every single state on there that already has it. You can see it's not a Democrat-Republican issue. There's Democratic and Republican leading states, there's middle states, there's everything in between. I think it's fairly easy to see that this should be passed at the state level, so this is our urge of it. It's currently, just to update you guys, it's currently in committee at the state capitol. It looks like it's gonna pass. It'll probably pass in the House, the Senate. So it's like a 90% chance of passing, but really good. But just to make sure, hopefully once this gets passed, our resolution, on Friday, External Affairs is going to be doing a workshop with Concord to write letters to state legislators, especially the ones in this committee that are focusing on early voting, to really see it through all the way. And it's pretty straightforward. If you guys have any questions, or I'll yield to the speaker.
Yeah, so now we're going to move into questions. Are there any questions for the author of this joint resolution? Is there any discussion on this joint resolution? All right. Seeing none, we will move into a vote. All those in favor of this joint resolution recommending early voting in the state of Connecticut, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, please signify by saying nay. Any abstentions? In the opinion of the chair, one from Senator Milton. In the opinion of the chair, the ayes have it, the motion carries. We will now move into a motion concerning the nomination of a deputy speaker. Is there a motion? Motion goes to Zansowitz, second goes to Douglas. All right, I'm actually going to yield to myself here and speak from the chair. As I hinted to earlier, I've decided to nominate Senator Wursler as my new deputy speaker over the course of this year. Senator Wursler and I have developed a fruitful professional relationship that has been very good. We have worked together on many other things, and I've come to trust him as one of the most outspoken senators of the body. And I would much like to bring him into Senate leadership. I can imagine no better replacement for my former Deputy Speaker, Douglas. With that, I'm going to ask him to stand. Do you accept the nomination?
Very much so, thank you.
Of course. With that, we'll move into questions for the nominees. Are there any questions? Is there any discussion? All right, seeing none, we're going to move into a vote. Just as a reminder, this requires a 2/3 majority. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, please signify by saying nay. Any abstentions? The opinion of the chair, the ayes have it, the motion carries. Congratulations. Next, we will move into discussion. Are there any items to be discussed? Oh, we have one item of discussion.
Hello, I just want to discuss the contraceptive initiative and just discussion that happened with that. We are one united body, so I want to make people to be I want people to be more aware when they call the rest of the body inappropriate, because we do take the interests of the people and the students. And anything said in discussion should not be taken personally, but instead it should be used as productive criticism and to better as a whole and together. I think that we really need to keep in mind that we're in this together. We're not separate entities. We're one undergraduate student body. And I think that's it. Just something I want to notice. Thank you.
All right. Is there any further discussion?
I just want to reiterate, nothing is taken personally. I genuinely accept the criticism. However, I do believe that USG has not done a good job pursuing initiatives that are beneficial for the student body. And when I use the term inappropriate, I mean not doing our due diligence as elected representatives. So when we propose motions that are counterproductive, when we go against the speaker's suggestion, I believe, as the elected representative of the body, I use the term inappropriate. I apologize if that offended anybody. However, I felt that it would be necessary to explain my reasoning behind the term. Thank you.
Chief Justice Stewart.
All right, so I kind of distinctly remember us having a very similar issue at the beginning of the semester. Okay, so I want to point out a couple things, right? Just because you don't agree with something, or because you've come up with reasonable objections to something, just because you, thank you, I appreciate that. Or you come up to reasonable objections to something, doesn't mean that you're not doing your due diligence. In fact, it means that you are doing your due diligence. When you attack your fellow senators, just do it reasonably. Talk about the merits of their ideas. Talk about what is actually being discussed. Do not discredit a motion because it's a motion you don't like. That doesn't make sense, right? Talk about ideas. Don't talk about people. Don't talk about character. I mean, we had this discussion before when this body would overwhelmingly move to table things because of time issues. I do not think that's the case here. All of the motions that I heard here tonight were done based on issue, based on fact, based on idea. That's a good reason to do these things. Frankly, I'm very happy with how this body is acting, taking its considerations, its actual considerations on the points and the merits of the matter, and using those to make decisions and motions. So good job, frankly. But I'll yield.
The Chief Justice took a lot of what I was going to say, so I'll just make one point. When we, as a body, decide to refer legislation back to committee, I think there's some sentiment expressed that is us being derelict in our job, and I would actually like to push the opposite narrative. I think that when we do that, we're saying that it's not ready to go to the higher level, and that the conversations we would have tonight, we don't have the time to sit here and do the research that a committee might be able to do during the same time. I just wanted to make that note and then fully second everything the Chief Justice has said. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you. All right, if there's no more discussion, we will now move into announcements. I'll actually take one that usually Senator Glassell has, but unfortunately had to leave a little early. This is, actually there's a change this week. There will not be a game night on Thursday. You see, guys, there's this problem where we say there's game night, you all cheer and are happy, but then no one shows up. I'm like trying not to take it personally, and I'm sure Connor's not trying to take it personally, but that's the way it is. So we're putting a temporary recess on game night while we reevaluate and figure out what might be best to bring you all to come have fun with us in the SOC on Thursday night. We may consider that, but we don't have money, so that's a problem. All right. Is that an announcement? Yeah, okay. Everyone, hush, please. All right, go ahead. Yeah, go ahead. Wherever you are.
Go.
for gals only, Valentine's Day. For the women of USG, we're gonna let the notice be sent out to other communities and other places of USG. We would love to have an event celebrating women. Valentine's Day is today, so happy Valentine's to all the beautiful, lovely, incredible women in the room. Yeah, so right after caucus, be there, be square, there's going to be a Google form sent out with whether you can be there, allergies, stuff like that. Other than that, have a wonderful night.
You have a question?
Oh, wait, hold on. What's your question? I will only be entertaining questions from gals who can go.
I have to rule that it's out of order.
Will you be sending this to the committee chair so that we can send it out to our committee so that people not present will hear about that?
Okay, so I'm sorry. Yes, I apologize.
All right. Are there any other announcements? We have one from the parliamentarian. Guys, we are almost at the end here. Keep it quiet.
I'm just going to announce it from here. So as you all know, we are participating in Husky-thon, a number of us, and it is next weekend. So tonight we offered a dress down option where if you donated $5 and you were able to dress down. And from that, we've gotten $115. So thank you all. I lied, $120. If you guys have any questions or want to donate, get more involved or anything, you can talk to me or Josh or Tina, and that's it. Thanks, guys.
All right. Question? Go ahead.
Did you announce how close we are to our goal?
Huh?
Did you announce how close we are to our goal?
Yes, I don't remember the exact number, but when I was putting in, like splitting up all the donations to our individual members, we were somewhere around 2,200, and our goal is 2,500, so we're slowly growing.
All right. If there are no more announcements, I will motion to adjourn the Senate meeting at 8:47 p.m. by unanimous consent. With no objections.